Mom was just trying to protect me. Now that there's only one of us left, I thought it was time I heard the stories. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real. But it had to end one way or another.
Salut, j'espère que vous allez bien. On se retrouve pour une vidéo YouTube sur le jeu The Edith Finch of Romance. What's Romance? Je me suis gouré de titre. Alors, Edith Finch.
A lot of this isn't going to make sense to you, and I'm sorry about that. I'm just going to start at the beginning, with the house.
Je vais simplement commencer par le début avec la maison. Avant ça. Est-ce qu'on a les sous-titres? Je crois pas.
I lived here until I was 11, but I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Donc le jeu raconte l'histoire d'une famille, la famille Finch.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately. I hadn't been back since my brother Lewis's funeral.
Ce n'était pas revenu depuis l'enterrement de mon frère.
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Coucou Mamira, ça va et toi? Toujours enrhumé mais sinon ça va.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Là ça va, c'est encore un petit rhume.
The woods around the house have always been
Pas
uncomfortably
trop
silent,
développé.
as if they're about to say something but never do.
Ah oui, non, je suis entièrement d'accord avec toi, c'est chiant. Mais bon, s'il avait été plus développé, je serais même pas en capacité de streamer. Moi, quand j'ai
The
un
house
rhume
was
vraiment
exactly like
fort,
I remembered it,
ça
the
a
way I'd been
tendance
dreaming about it.
à me fatiguer. Ça marche. Bon courage pour le taf.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable
Je
in
te
a
rassure,
way I
t'es pas la
couldn't put
seule.
into words.
T'es pas la seule. Depuis le début de la semaine, j'ai une flemme
Now,
pas
as a
possible.
17-year-old, I knew exactly what those words were. I was afraid of the house. I hoped the key might unlock the front door. It didn't.
Donc il va falloir faire le tour. Elle est sympa notre mère, elle nous a légué une clé qui n'ouvre pas la porte d'entrée. Nous allons
Crawling through the doggy door used to be
obligé
a
de
lot
rentrer par la
easier when I was
chatière. Une
11.
blague.
For the first time in years, I felt like I was home.
Ouais, bon. Je rentre
But
avec un
instead of a
bordel comme
family,
ça, je me
there were
sens pas à
just
la maison.
memories of one. Like how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot. Or how after Louis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly. The table was still a wreck from the night we left.
Eddie.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
Quoi, elle a jamais eu l'occasion d'aller dans une maison de retraite.
It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
Ça, tu peux le dire vu le bordel qu'il y a, vu le bordel qu'il y a partout. Hein. Des chaises renversées, des assiettes cassées.
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much of it, like a smile with too many teeth. Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
La maison d'origine après son naufrage. Comment ça après son naufrage? Ouais, ils avaient une maison sur un bateau.
Mom always told me to stay out of the basement, so I wasn't too surprised when the key didn't fit. Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
Il y a une boîte à musique.
A lot of things got left behind in the whirlwind of that last night. My mom wasn't much of an optimist, but she never stopped believing that my brother Milton was alive.
Vraiment, quelle étrange famille. Un frère
After Milton
disparu.
disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes. I spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room. I think my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up.
Elle est jolie la chambre.
Lewis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Ah. On a trouvé à quoi servait la clé.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Alors, où est-ce qu'on est?
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan. From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me. But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead. I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole. Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Ils ont fait une chambre pour la gerbille dans le tiroir.
Being inside for the first time, I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting.
Donc là, on est dans la chambre de Molly. Molly Finch.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat. The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
Elle a un sacré appétit quand même.
I kept eating and eating.
Non mais... Faut pas manger de dentifrice.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Pas sûr que ce soit bon.
Then I heard chirping outside my window. It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her. And suddenly...
D'accord. Elle s'est transformée en chat.
I tried to be quiet, but the bird was really scared. I jumped and I almost got her. I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird. gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First, all I heard
Ah,
was
maintenant une chouette. Bah, dis donc.
then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass. Rabbits. I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed
Je pense pas qu'une chouette est capable d'avaler le corps d'un lapin aussi facilement.
off to find something bigger. A mama rabbit. She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating. And suddenly, I was a shark.
Un requin sur Terre. Là, un requin dévale comme ça la pente, il est mort. Et ça, je dis
I
rien.
rolled off a cliff and into the ocean. Now, I was hungrier than ever. I wanted fat, juicy seeds.
T'as rien fait, le phoque?
I tore off her flipper and it tasted really good.
Mais laisse-le tranquille à la fin. T'as rien fait, le pauvre.
I grabbed on tight. But I was so hungry, I jumped out of the water. When I opened my eyes, everything had changed.
Ah, maintenant, t'es quoi?
Now I was a monster, and I smelled people everywhere. was big, and I moved real quiet.
Ah, maintenant, elle mange des humains en plus. C'est folle.
I wanted to stop, but also I didn't. After the last passenger, I was still hungry. And across the water, I smelled something new. Something I had to have, so I swam towards it. I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Qu'est-ce qu'elle nous fait? Elle est folle cette fille.
I got closer and closer. All of my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to feed, and we both know I will be delicious.
What?
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Elle est morte à l'âge de 10 ans. Au lit. Elle est morte de quoi? Elle s'est empoisonnée. Moi, je vois pas d'autres explications avec toutes les conneries qu'elle a mangées avant de devenir cinglée avec son... avec ses histoires
can't
de
describe it,
transformation en
I
requin.
felt like some part of Molly was still here.
On peut pas ressortir en arrière. Ah d'accord, on sort par la fenêtre.
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. Edie gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious. I hadn't thought of myself as Edith Jr. for a long, long time.
Eddie Junior.
When Edie told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Even in her 90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones. Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him.
Lewis.
Her room was like a museum. For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune and misfortune. Odin Finch buries the latest victims of the family curse, his wife Ingeborg and their newborn son, Johan. On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind.
Ah, donc j'avais bien raison, il y avait bien une maison sur l'eau, sur un bateau.
But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore on their new home, Orcas Island. Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery. His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house.
Ok. Donc voici
Whatever's
l'histoire
wrong
de
with this
Odin.
family, it goes back a long ways.
C'était donc l'histoire de Odin.
The only trace Grandpa Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace. There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
Kevin Fish.
Sven gave Sam an old camera he'd refurbished. He never put it down. I knew Grandpa Sam had a twin.
Le fort Calvin.
And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
D'accord, on fait la balançoire.
My brother said he'd die before he ate another mushroom. And he did. At Barbara's funeral, we swore we'd never be afraid again. And he wasn't. I think Calvin always wanted to fly.
Sam! Calvin! Dinner's ready! Coming!
Ja. Calvin, il faut aller manger, ta maman l'a dit.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it.
La décision de faire quoi?
I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that,
Calvin, I'm not gonna tell you again.
maybe if the wind hadn't picked up, then maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it. I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember. Brother.
Calvin, arrête ça tout de suite.
The day he made up his mind to fly. And he did.
D'accord. Bon. On sait comment Calvin est mort.
Strangely familiar. When I was younger, I remember trying to do the exact same thing.
Il est mort parce qu'il a été éjecté de la balançoire au-delà de la falaise.
After the funeral, Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room. Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Oh bah je pense qu'on doit faire demi-tour. Ah non. Ici. Bon, maintenant on va se retrouver où?
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands and bellies.
Là c'est un raccourci pour venir ici. On va aller voir ce qu'il y a par là.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
D'accord, donc là on est dans la chambre de Barbara.
I never thought about how hard it must have been. Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch. As a child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans. It was just the boost her career needed. Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Okay, I'm hearing frustration, but I'm not hearing terror. What if I tried...
A gang of hoodlums in Halloween masks have been terrorizing Orcas Island tonight. Police are urging residents to...
That came from the basement.
You're right! Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes making puzzles and secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
20 minutes later, Rick hadn't
Lol,
returned.
il y a une clé dans la boîte à
So
musique.
Barbara went to look for him, right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key, she listened for Rick, but the house was silent.
Rick?
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
Mon dieu, il y a du sang partout. Chose derrière. Des papiers. Ça se trouve, Rick a été enlevé. Ah, j'ai eu un succès. Bille en poche.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
On s'entraîne au cas où. Prends ça dans ta face.
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and you...
She threw him out, but she kept a little something to remember him by.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is a trick, you're dead, Walter.
J'arrive, armé de ma béquille. Attention à toi, Walter. Hein.
Walter, are you there? Walter had vanished, but his bedside radio was still on.
Orcas Island police describe the man as 6 feet tall, with a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hook man, and was speechless. He was quite smashing.
Fermeture des portes.
He couldn't get enough of Barbara.
Okay, Barbara, there's gotta be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully. Molly's door hadn't been opened in years. The hinges groaned.
Prends ça à ta face.
He wasn't moving, but she sensed the story might not be over yet.
J'arrive pour t'achever.
The hookman had vanished. She listened for his breathing, but all she heard was... At the door, she heard whispering. It was coming from inside the house.
Oh dear.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true. Then she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard. But that's another story. As for Barbara, tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear. Now that's what I call a
Ah, j'ai rien compris. Elle est morte comment? Ça peut pas être des vrais monstres. Quoi, il y a eu des meurtriers?
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Ah, mais ça nous dit pas comment elle est morte. Ah, il est vrai que maintenant on peut aller
I
dans le
guess now I
sous-sol
know
vu
why
qu'on
Mom
sait
doesn't like
comment
me playing
ouvrir
with the
la
music
porte du
box.
sous-sol.
Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara. Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
Pas ouvrir le troisième étage.
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house. It's funny. All those times I played with the music box and never found the basement key.
On peut pas franchir ces portes parce qu'elles sont scellées.
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
Ah, par contre, on peut regarder à travers... à travers ça.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait. As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
Grégory.
My Grandpa Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin. I wonder if that comic was right about there being a key inside the music box near the basement. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
Bon, je pense que maintenant on doit aller dans le sous-sol.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
J'en doute fort. Ah, on est dans le sous-sol.
Maybe I should go check out that music box down by the basement.
Si. Bien, on va aller voir. T'es prévu, t'inquiète pas, maintenant qu'on sait où se trouve la clé du sous-sol. Drôle de clé, hein.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot. I saw Edie sneak down to the basement once, carrying packages.
Rôder dans
I
le...
thought maybe she was hiding presents. It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Ouais.
I remember asking Mom once about where Walter had gone. She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could. If there's a pattern in all these stories, I think it's that none of us has gotten very far.
Attends, Walter, il a fait un bunker dans la maison...
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years. On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today. I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough,
Ouais, probablement à chaque fois à midi...
even a monster on the other side of the door starts to feel normal. Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped.
Ah, il n'y a pas eu de tremblement là.
Whatever that thing was, it was gone. Maybe it got tired of waiting. Or maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave.
La mère d'attente, tu peux enfin sortir. Et pourquoi pas sortir de la porte d'entrée? On sait très bien que tu es arrivé,
I know it's out
que
there.
l'entrée était dans le
somewhere.
frigo. Dans le frigo du sous-sol.
Whatever
Tu peux
killed
sortir
Barbara.
par là.
And Molly. And Calvin. Maybe this is all a mistake. But I need to stop living the same day, even if it kills me. Whatever's out there, I want you to know I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left, or a month, or a single week. I'd be happy with one more day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
D'accord, il s'est fait écraser par un train.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me. Maybe she was afraid I'd end up like Walter. But if she never told me about an uncle under the house, I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made. Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two, I thought it was time I heard the stories for myself and found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
Ah bah, maintenant il n'y a plus de train. La partie où il y avait le train ici s'est effondré.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family. And the history you're a part of. Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now. I think the people in these stories believed them, for what that's worth.
On doit continuer par là.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness, any of it seems possible. I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Ah, parce qu'ils ont bâti le cimetière avant la maison. Ah bah. Ah oui,
It's
quand même.
embarrassing for me to admit this, but the pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one. 3 of the gerbils are mine, and 2 had been my fault. Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Pas mal quand même les pierres tombales. Calvin Fish, Sven Fish, Edith Finch, Walter Finch. Barbara Finch.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide.
Donc Odin Finch a sombré avec la maison.
Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night. Edie's side was always easier for me to understand. But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
Lewis et Sanjay.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Enceinte de 22 semaines.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Alors, Sam.
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it? I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Smile, Dawn. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. That camera's older than you are. Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee. Hey!
That's a keeper.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Dawn. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Dawn, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years. Last time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere. bet if I could remember where that trail was, we'd spot a buck for you in no time. Give me a minute to check the map. Let's see. Don, don't you think you could find something more interesting to photograph? Maybe.
Je cherche, y a rien.
Was it? Could have been.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don. Before you take the shot, let me get a picture of it.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Turn off your imagination. Focus on your target. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong. Great shot, Don! I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay?
Ah, attends, il faut que je contrôle le...
Sorry, Don. Just gotta reset the timer.
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Au revoir. Ça, c'est ce qu'on appelle le karma.
Of all these stories, that's the one I wish most that my mom had told me.
Ça, c'est ce qu'on appelle le karma, bien fait pour sa gueule.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something. Instead of hiding from death, Sam seemed to go out of his way to meet it.
Ouais, et bien c'est bien fait pour lui. Et qu'à réfléchir à 2 fois avant de faire le con. En plus, sa fille, elle lui dit qu'il bouge encore.
After Sam died, my mom and Edie got really close. They'd both lost a lot.
Gregory.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it. he saw things the rest of us don't.
Time's over, Gregory. It's time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now.
I wonder what he saw.
Ils sortent tous les canards dans des bulles.
What his world was like. He reminded me so much of Calvin. Lost in his imagination. Whatever it was he saw, it sure made him happy. How silly it sounds. But I worried about a baby being too happy. But I could feel him slipping away.
Sorry about that, Gregory.
I know you did everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night. I wish he could have told us.
No, I don't want to.
About the world he saw. There's so much I don't understand. About Gregory.
Rien que ça.
About everything. I know what happened wasn't your fault. I'm sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Décédé à 1 an. Il est bon, on sait que Grégory est mort noyé. D'accord. Bon. On va s'arrêter là.